another video, and today's gonna be another installment to the How Do We Fix series. Last episode we talked about digital bugs, and in this episode we're gonna be talking about Amorphages, which is another deck in the Shining Victory set. And the only difference is this is a pendulum deck, so maybe a tad better, I guess, like perspective-wise. But no, yeah, if you don't know what Amorphages are, they're pretty much a pendulum dragon deck, which is also pretty much a decent control deck, or like an interesting one in the, like, to be honest. And what these guys do, pretty much their whole gimmick is if they're like their main deck monsters, when they're on the field, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Amorphage monsters. And then also certain one of their members have different style of pendulum effects that pretty much makes it so your opponent cannot activate certain things like spells, traps, monster effects, certain stuff like that. So, but no, yeah, let's just jump right into it. So basically in this video, like all the other ones we've done, we're going to go over the overall strategy, strengths, weaknesses, and at the very end we're going to talk about what this deck would need if they ever got support to make them better in the modern game right now. So yeah, let's just jump right in. So overall strategy wise, they're pretty much a control deck. There's nothing really needs to be said about this. You can pretty much tell by looking at their effects right out of the gate that this is a control deck. So pretty much you're going to be wanting to not let your opponent like special from the extra deck, and like depending on the matchup, you're going to want certain one of their members in the pendulum scale so your opponent cannot activate certain other things. So, but yeah, now that we got that out of the way, let's just get on to the strengths and weaknesses. So pretty much their main strength is their control effects are really devastating if used properly. Now what do I mean by this? Well, pretty much like, well, first off, all of them share the same effect of if they're on the field, your opponent cannot like special summon from the extra deck except for Morpheus monsters. Now the kind of a catch to this, most of their main deck monsters, they had to be pendulum summoned or flip face up for this like effect to be live. But Goliath and Sloth actually like dodge this. It's just whenever they're on the field, which is pretty much why they're probably the better Amorphage monsters in this deck. So yeah, and also like their pendulum scales, like if that wasn't good enough, their pendulum scales also allow them to do other like things to make it so your opponent cannot activate other things. So what do I mean by this? Well, Gluttony, for example, pretty much when it's in the pendulum scale, your opponent can activate monster effects. LECHERY can't activate spells. Greed can't activate traps. Goliath is a kind of a macrocosmos. Sloth is pretty much a mistake on legs. Envy, pretty much your opponent cannot activate Chain Link 2 or higher, which is hilarious, like, to be honest, if you're facing Chainburn. Pride, you don't, neither player takes effect damage, so facing Trickstar matchup, my bad, that's actually comes in a little bit handy. The Ritual monster pretty much skips your opponent's main phase 1, and also pretty much is a blanket negate effect of all like face-up extra deck monsters, except for Link monsters, because this thing was made before Master Rule 4, which is kind of a shame, but whatever. And then they have a search spell and injection, which is kind of nice because if one of your Amorphages are attributed or destroyed by a card effect or by battle, you search a Amorphage card, which is nice. And then Lysis pretty much allows it so you can place your scales. And then their field spell is kind of like a mini draw engine for the deck as well. So yeah, off the bat you can already tell this deck has a lot of kind of interesting effects, and is really nice in the control aspect because a lot of them can be devastating if used in the correct situation. Another like plus, it is a pendulum deck, so like your main deck monsters won't really truly die in essence unless they get hit by a solemn or something like that, which is nice, so they can always come back pretty much. And also they have access to Electromite, so that's always great because Electromite's a really good pendulum Link monster, so at least the best one we got. So another plus, they also have access to really good draw power. Now I know there's a lot of decks that have access to have the ones like Pot of Desires or Pot of Duality. I get that, they're all generic they're generic draw cards, so a lot of other decks can use them. But I think like some of the draw spells like Pot of like Extravagance or Pot of Riches or Ignite Reload, this deck can, you know, like take advantage a little bit more because you're going to be a lot of your key stuff is going to be in extra deck anyway, like for Pot of Riches and Ignite Reload, which is nice. So that's really great, so they can like take advantage of that. And then like Pot of Indulgence, this deck doesn't really need to use an extra deck at all. Honestly, you don't even need to, like, to be honest, need to use one at all, so you could just play 3 Indulgence and or Extravagance I mean, and then like a 15 card extra deck that you can just fill with Cherries targets and then just kind of go from there, which is nice. You can also play not Macrocosmos. You can also play Card Demise, which is nice. But though I do feel it's not the best in this kind of deck, personally. So So yeah, it has some. So you can see it has some mini like good consistency, I guess, in a way, because of all the draw cards you can use in this deck, which is nice. But it's kind of like a fake consistency, and I'll get into that later because that's in the weakness department. Speaking of, let's get on to their weaknesses. They have very poor resource management. Now, when I say this, it's because all their pendulum scales, like every Amorphage monster shares this effect in their pendulum scale. Pretty much once during the standby phase, if you have to tribute one Amorphage monster or destroy the scale. So you have to pretty much, like, how do I say this? Like, let's say for example, Goliath is on the field and you have LECHERY in the pendulum scale. Let's say it's standby phase, you have to tribute Goliath. There's no other way around it. It's a mandatory effect. You have to tribute it, which kind of sucks. So, and you don't want to get rid of that Goliath. Now, do you? You want to keep it there. So, it kind of sucks that it's the only thing there. I have to get rid of it. And I don't want to get rid of it, or else this thing's going to get popped. So, that's pretty much their main weakness right there, is resource management. Because there are times where you're going to only have the pendulum scale, no Amorphage monsters, and the pendulum scale is going to get popped. And then you can't. And then the lock you just had is gone, and for that certain matchup, and now that certain matchup is now wrecking your day. Like, let's say you're facing Sky Striker, you have LECHERY down for spells, and now LECHERY's gone. Now Sky Striker player can now just start popping off with their spells, so which sucks. So this deck kind of an inconsistency with that, and keeping their scales up, and also keeping a reasonable amount of monsters on the board to like pretty much be as oppressive as it can. So, if that makes any sense. And also, they also have awkward pendulum scales. And to be honest, this is probably they have the most weirdest scales I've ever seen in a pendulum deck. I'm serious. Like, all of them have 3 and 5 scales, and they have weird levels. Like, LECHERY's at level 2. You can't pendulum summon it. Goliath is level 8. Sloth is level 8. Or I think a level 7, I don't know his level, but you can't pendulum summon those, you have to tribute summon them in this deck, which is so weird. And like, the fact that this deck is as slow as it is for a pendulum deck is just, like, what the heck? Like, how can, like, it's just, I wish, like, this deck would have better scales so you can, like, get out more of their stuff, because, like, as of right now, you can only get up to level 4s, and that's pretty much it, for pendulum-wise. You can only pendulum summon the level 4s, which is so weird to me. So that's another weakness. And also, they have lack of field swarming, because, like, most of the time, you're not, I mean, yes, you'll be able to pendulum summon out from your hand, obviously, that's always a thing, but you're only gonna get out the level 4s, pendulum summon wise, and if you want to get out the level 2, like LECHERY, or for some reason, or like the level 3, or like Goliath, you have to normal summon those, and then that's your normal summon, and that's it, pretty much it for your turn, almost, and you'll probably back it up with a scale, and that's pretty much it. But then the next turn, during the standby phase, you're gonna have to tribute it, or else the scale's gone. Or actually, you have to tribute it, actually, so to keep scale there, and it's gonna be like, you've seen a lot of problems here. Now, I know there is Ties of the Brethren, which kind of mitigates this, because Ties of the Brethren is actually really nice in this deck, because they are all dragon and earth, so it fits really nice. It's nice, tight, and snug in the deck, but to be honest, it's a non-searchable spell card, and it doesn't warrant me not saying that this deck lacks field swarming, so. But no, yeah, and another weakness is that they have lack of searching. Now, I know there is Injection, and that is a great search card for the deck, but but that card can't be searched, and that's their only search card. So they can't even search their search card, which sucks. And I mean, yes, I know you can actually search it by using Watchcat, but if you're relying on Watchcat for you to get into your main search card, you have a lot of problems to begin with now, don't you? So they need to get a better way in getting into this, honestly. And also Lysis. Lysis is not that bad of a trap as well. It is mostly a one-of, though, I will say. So, but yeah, you need to get a better way of getting this on the, getting the Injection or Lysis on the field faster, because if you just use Watchcat, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, nothing against Watchcat, but if you're relying on that to get into your spell card, like your main spell card, then I'm sorry, you have a lot of problems now, don't you? So, but oh yeah, let's get into the things to improve with the deck. Pretty much the main thing they need to get better at is get into their Injection fast. I feel like, to get their searches off, or get their that thing on board and live as fast as it can. So, I think a good way of like doing this is making them a Link monster. And now what kind of Link monster am I thinking? Like a Link 2? No, I think a Link 1 would better suit this deck. Like, just because how slow it is, it's very normal summon reliant, and it's like, you're just almost always gonna normal summon a lot of the time. So I think a Link 1 would be great, and I actually have a good idea on what this Link monster would do. So I think if it's Link summoned, you would pretty much set an Amorphage spell or trap from your deck, directly from the deck into the spell or trap zone, which I think would be nice because you can set your injection or you can set your lysis, which would be good, so you can set up future plays. And then if it's tributed by an Amorphage effect, I think like you would be able to special summon an Amorphage monster from your deck, which would be good because if you have a Pendulum Scale, you tribute your Link monster, you then special out like a Goliath, for example, or a Sloth, for example, and there you go, you have a free resource on board now, and that's really nice, I think. And then you also get a search off the injection as well, so you kind of just like go +1 almost, I think, in a way. I don't know if there's a +1. Maybe I'm like going nuts by saying that, but I don't know if that's a +1 or not in my book. But like, if I'm wrong, tell me down in the comment section below if that would be a +1 or not. But I think that would be really good for the deck if you had a Link monster like that for the deck, and that pretty much did what I just stated, I think. And also, I was asking around, my friend Larson actually pitched in like a main deck double summon monster would be good for the deck as well. Because as it stands right now, like LECHERY can't be pendulum summoned, and if you want to get like LECHERY out, you're just gonna have to normal summon them, and that's it for your pretty much summoning wise, unless you get your scales up. So yeah, like a main deck double summon monster would be good because then you could like normal summon it, then normal summon another thing out, which would be good as well. Just to you know, pick up the pace of this deck a little bit. And also, I feel like better scales. If you bring out 2 more, like pretty much if you give them 2 more monsters or something like that with better pendulum scales, like a pendulum 1 scale and a pendulum 10 scale, I think that'd be good for the deck because then you'd be able to pendulum something out more of your guys better, more consistently. Like get out your Goliaths faster, get out your Sloth faster, and just be, you know, better, I feel. So. But no, yeah, and like if you did all those things, I think the deck would be pretty good. I don't think it would be busted or anything, but it'd just be better like than it is right now. And maybe it might do something at regional scene, if that's possible, if it gets that kind of support. So, but no, yeah, I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, I like Amorphages. I think they're kind of an interesting control deck. I think they have a lot of potential. I just think that they need just 1 or 2 more cards, maybe 3, to really make this deck as good as it can be, and just, you know, make it a kind of a cool rogue deck for the regional scene, or maybe even the YCS scene one day, and like, you know, make it a lot better. I really do. I think this deck is pretty nice, and like has a lot of potential, and just, you know, I think, yeah, like I said, just give it like 1 or 2 more cards, just like I said, like the Link monster I stated, or like the pendulum scales like I stated, and I think this deck could like really do something one day. So, but yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. If you have any questions, leave that down in the comment section below, and also state what and also comment what I've missed about the deck, like what other things I said in the video that I would miss, and also what do you guys think would be like good for the Morphages going forward? Like, what do you think they would need to make this deck better, and like make it like maybe a rogue contender one day, or maybe meta one day, who knows. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, and definitely subscribe. I should see you guys next video. Have a nice day.